Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling something that feels, well, honestly, it feels a little bit like a personal attack, but in like the best possible way.
I know exactly what you mean. It's one of those topics that kind of holds up a mirror. And yeah, it forces you to look at things you might be trying to ignore.
Exactly. We're looking at a source from the creator Psychoresto that breaks down Stoicism.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It starts with this incredibly relatable, almost uncomfortable observation about modern life. It talks about this quiet defeat that so many of us are living in. You know, we're scrolling, we're comparing ourselves to everyone else online, we're just chasing comfort. Yet somehow we're just exhausted all the time.
It's the paradox of our time, isn't it? We have more comfort than any generation in history.
Oh, for sure.
We have temperature-controlled rooms, endless entertainment in our pockets, food delivery at 2 in the morning. Yet the source argues that we feel stuck. And it makes a really provocative pivot right at the beginning.
What's that?
It suggests that this comfort we're chasing, it's actually killing us. Slowly.
Wow. That hit me hard. The idea that the path to actual strength isn't ease, it's struggle.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the topic, ancient Stoicism.
Uh-huh.
Now, before anyone tunes out thinking we're going to talk about, dusty old men in togas debating the meaning of a table,
Yep.
let me assure you, that is not what this is.
No, not at all. The source frames Stoicism not as a philosophy to debate in a classroom, but as a weapon.
A weapon, I like that.
A mindset for mental invincibility. And we're drawing from the heavy hitters here. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. These weren't guys hiding in a library. They were emperors, slaves, political exiles. They used this stuff to survive.
Right. And the mission for this deep dive is to unpack 8 brutal Stoic laws that this source lays out. And they call them brutal for a reason. These aren't like life hacks to make your day slightly easier.
No, this is deep work.
The goal is to move from feeling like a puppet of your emotions, which, let's be honest, we all feel like sometimes, to becoming a master of yourself, mentally unbreakable.
It's about rewiring the mind. And it requires stripping away a lot of the conditioning we've picked up in the modern world.
So let's get into the rewiring process. We start in what the source calls the training ground. Section 1 is all about discomfort and hardship. And law number 1 is simply embrace discomfort.
This is foundational. You have to understand that we are biologically wired and socially conditioned to run away from pain.
Absolutely.
If something hurts, stop. If something is awkward, leave. If it's cold, grab a jacket. But the Stoic approach is the complete opposite. You don't run from it, you run toward it.
The source uses this great phrase. Discomfort is not your enemy, it's your sparring partner. I love that.
Yes.
It might bruise you, but it's the only thing that's actually building you. It just reframes the whole experience.
Precisely. It changes the narrative from I am suffering to I am training. There's a quote from Marcus Aurelius that the source highlights, and it's one of the most famous Stoic maxims for a reason.
Which one is that?
The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way.
Okay, what stands in the way becomes the way. Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Because usually when something stands in my way, like a canceled flight or a difficult coworker, I just get annoyed and try to go around it.
Or you just complain about it.
Or complain about it, yeah.
A lot. Right. But Aurelius is saying the obstacle itself is the opportunity. The source asks us to reflect on our own life. When did your greatest growth happen? Was it when you were relaxing on a beach, everything going your way?
No. Never.
Or was it when life punched you in the face and you had to choose whether to rise or stay broken?
Yeah, it's always the punch in the face. Character is carved in the tough moments. The source lists things like the cold shower, the hard conversation you've been putting off.
Or that gym session where you're completely exhausted, but you do one more rep.
It's about viewing those moments not as misfortunes, but as like necessary training.
It is. If you avoid small pains today, you suffer bigger pains tomorrow. The source argues that avoiding the difficult conversation now just guarantees a disastrous relationship later.
Right. Avoiding the gym now guarantees health problems later.
So you're paying the cost of discomfort either way. You might as well choose the one that makes you stronger.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this leads us directly into law number 5, which takes us a step further. It's not just about handling discomfort when it shows up. It's about practice voluntary hardship.
This is the one that separates the casuals from the pros, I feel like.
It really is.
Law 5 is about inviting the struggle. Why on earth would anyone do that? Life is hard enough as it is.
It's about inoculation. The source brings up Seneca here. Now, Seneca was an incredibly wealthy man. He was the tutor to Nero. He was powerful, had huge estates. He did not need to suffer.
Right.
But he would set aside specific days to practice poverty. He'd sleep on the floor, eat the cheapest, scantiest food, wear rough clothes.
Imagine a billionaire today just deciding to sleep on a concrete floor and eat dry oatmeal for a week.
People would think he's lost his mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Seneca had a very specific strategic reason. He did it so he could ask himself, is this the condition I feared?
Wow.
It's an inoculation against anxiety. We spend so much of our lives terrified of losing what we have, our status, our comfort, our money. If you know you can survive and even thrive with nothing, then you stop being terrified of losing everything.
It's self-training, not self-hate. That's a key distinction the source makes.
Yes.
It's about building a mind that won't crack. So in a modern context, this isn't necessarily sleeping on the floor. It could be, fasting for 24 hours.
Or waking up early to train when your bed is warm. It's proving to yourself that you are in control of your urges. Comfort doesn't make you stronger. Challenge does.
Right.
If you practice being hungry or cold or tired, when life eventually throws a crisis at you, and it will, you don't panic. You've been there before. You know the terrain of suffering, so you aren't lost in it.
You've already walked through the fire by choice. I like that. It makes you feel less fragile. Okay, so we've established the training ground. Let's move to section 2, the fortress of the mind. This is about control and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And law number 4 is focus on what you can control.
This sounds simple, and you hear it all the time in self-help circles, but it is probably the hardest law to actually live by.
I believe it.
The source identifies a trap that causes most of our anxiety. We try to control the weather, other people's opinions, or the economy.
The weather is a great metaphor, but we do this with everything. We stress about what a politician is doing or what our boss thinks, or if people like our post on social media. We burn so much energy just wishing things were different.
And the Stoic boundary is very strict. You control your thoughts, your choices, and your actions. That's it.
That's it.
Everything else, external.
Everything else, even my reputation.
Even your reputation. You can control your character, but you cannot control how people interpret that character. The source uses this great analogy of a storm at sea. Okay.
Imagine you're on a ship in a hurricane. A non-Stoic screams at the wind, begging it to stop, cursing the waves.
Which, obviously, the wind doesn't care about.
The wind doesn't hear you. The Stoic, however, grabs the wheel and navigates. They focus entirely on their own performance as a sailor.
Because screaming at the wind does literally nothing but exhaust you.
Exactly. Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. When you shift your focus from the storm to your hand on the wheel, you regain your power. You stop being pulled in 100 directions by things that have nothing to do with you.
And that leads right into law number 2, which is maybe the most brutal one for me personally. Stop being owned by emotions.
The source puts this bluntly. If you are ruled by your emotions, you are a slave.
Ouch. Slave is a heavy word.
It is, but think about the mechanism. There is a powerful quote from Epictetus here. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master.
That is, wow. Okay, so if I let the guy who cut me off in traffic ruin my morning, I've basically made him my master. You've handed him your peace. You've given him control over your internal state. You are essentially letting a stranger drive your mind.
Yeah, wow.
The source mentions the rude comment online, the breakup. If these things destroy your stability, you're handing over your identity and your joy to external forces.
So does this mean we're supposed to be robots? Just feel nothing? Because that sounds, unhealthy.
No, and that's the most common misconception about Stoicism. It is not about suppression. It's not about ignoring emotions. It's about the difference between a reaction and a response.
Okay.
The source compares it to a child versus an adult. A child throws a tantrum when things go wrong. They are purely reactive. A Stoic sits in the storm and asks, is this feeling useful?
Is this feeling useful? That's a circuit breaker.
It is. You can feel anger. Your heart rate might go up. Your face might get hot. That's biology. But you don't have to act in anger.
You can just observe it.
You can feel fear, but still move forward. That is emotional strength. That is what makes you, as the source says, magnetic and grounded in a chaotic world.
I love that image. Just being the calmest person in the room. When everyone else is losing their minds, you're the one thinking clearly.
That's the definition of a leader.
Okay, moving on to section 3. Interaction with the world. This is where we talk about fairness and outcomes. Law number 3, stop expecting fairness.
This is a reality check that a lot of people try to avoid. The source highlights a pretty controversial point. Fairness is a myth we create.
That sounds harsh. Fairness is a myth. We're taught from, like, kindergarten that things should be fair.
We are. But the source argues that expecting fairness actually makes you weak. Because when we say, this isn't fair, what we are usually saying is, I don't like reality.
Yeah.
We are arguing with what is. The source points to Marcus Aurelius again. He was the emperor of Rome. He could have anything he wanted, yet he saw injustice, betrayal, and incompetence every single day.
Right. So if the emperor of Rome couldn't get a fair shake 100% of the time, I probably shouldn't expect the traffic lights to always be green for me.
Exactly. He didn't whine about it. He didn't say, why me? He grounded himself in strength, not fairness. The takeaway here is vital. Don't wait for the world to treat you right. Treat yourself right. Build your skills. Build your resilience. The average person waits for fairness. The Stoic builds power so that they can handle unfairness.
It's radical responsibility.
Yeah.
It's saying, okay, this happened. It's not fair. Now what?
Precisely. It's the shift from victimhood to agency. And that, now what, leads us right to law number 6, detach from outcomes.
This one is tricky because we're so goal-oriented. We live in a results-based society. We want the promotion, we want the applause, we want the money.
We do.
But Law 6 says to fall in love with the process, not the result.
We obsess over results. But the Stoic truth is that results are never guaranteed. You can do everything right. You can prepare for the interview and still lose.
Right.
The interviewer might just not like your face. You might twist your ankle on mile 3.
So if I tie my happiness to getting the job, I'm setting myself up for misery because I'm gambling on things I can't control.
Exactly. But if you tie your happiness to, say, writing the best application I possibly can or running the best race I can,
then I win regardless of the decision.
then you are bulletproof. And here is the paradox the source mentions. When you let go of needing the outcome, you often achieve more.
Because you're not desperate. You're not clutching the bat so hard your knuckles are white.
You are acting out of fear or a need for validation. You're grounded in the work itself. Epictetus says freedom is won by disregarding things beyond our control. If you focus on the writing, the training, the building, the craft itself, you become unstoppable.
Why is that?
Because your validation comes from within, not from the scoreboard.
You show up like the result is already done. I like that mindset shift. It takes the pressure off. Okay, we're heading into the final stretch here. Section 4, the ultimate perspective. This is the deep stuff. Law number 7, embrace death.
Memento mori. Remember, you will die.
It sounds dark. It sounds depressing. People usually avoid thinking about this at all costs. But the source insists this is actually about urgency.
It's the ultimate wake-up call. Most of us live like we have forever. We delay our dreams, we hold grudges, we waste hours scrolling through nonsense on our phones. We act as if our time is infinite.
Totally.
Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think."
You could leave life right now. Man, that stops the scrolling pretty fast.
It forces you to live deeply rather than just long. The source puts it beautifully. You will not catch me sleeping on my life.
I love that.
It cuts through the petty arguments.
Yeah.
If today was your last day, would you really spend it arguing with a stranger in a comment section about politics?
Definitely not. You wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care at all. It clarifies what actually matters. It strips away the superficial. And once you strip away the superficial, you are left with the final law, law number 8, be a warrior for virtue.
Warrior for virtue.
That sounds epic, but let's define it. In a world chasing likes and applause, the Stoic moves for virtue.
And virtue here isn't just about being polite. It means doing the right thing even if no one sees. It means having a code.
Integrity over image.
Seneca set the standard. Live as if the whole world can see your life and read your thoughts.
That is a terrifying standard. If everyone could read my thoughts, yikes.
It is terrifying, but it's also liberating. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear.
Yeah.
It's about being authentic. The source says that when you become someone who doesn't need the crowd's approval, you ironically become the kind of person people follow.
Because you're real. You're solid. You're not performing for them. You aren't changing your personality depending on who walks into the room.
Exactly. You've built an identity that no one can take away from you because it's not based on their applause. It's based on your own actions.
So let's recap. We've gone from the quiet defeat of modern life, the exhaustion, the envy, to this toolkit for becoming unstoppable.
We talked about embracing discomfort as a sparring partner, controlling only what we can, our hand on the wheel, not the storm. We talked about letting go of the need for fairness and living with the urgency of death on our shoulder.
It's not just a set of rules, it's a transformation. The source ends with a powerful affirmation. I am becoming unshakable day by day.
Day by day, I like that.
That's the key. You don't just listen to this deep dive and wake up a Stoic sage. You build it brick by brick, hardship by hardship.
Right?
Every time you choose not to react to an insult, every time you choose the cold shower over the warm bed, you are laying a brick.
It's about moving from being a puppet to being a master.
And if we really want to apply this right now, let's go back to that memento mori idea. I want to leave the listener with a specific thought to chew on.
Let's hear it.
If you truly accepted, really accepted, that today could be your last chance to act, what is the one small discomfort or difficult conversation you are currently avoiding that you would tackle immediately?
That's good. Not what would you do if you won the lottery, but what uncomfortable thing would you finally face?
Exactly, because that fear you're feeling, it's smaller than the regret of leaving it undone.
Well, on that note, we're going to let you go face that discomfort. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Go be a warrior for virtue.
Stay unshakable.
See you next time.